Welcome home, racing fans. Well, I just had to have it. I had to have another P68 from NSR. You know, this car's been around for a long time, but this Martini scheme on this car just works. I mean, it just looks really, really good. You could tell I have one of the older white ones in the background, and when the new series of these came out, I just had to have the silver, and I tell you, I just think it just looks so nice. Really works well on this car. Detail level of this car has always been pretty good. I've never heard a lot of complaints about it, and I think possibly this is my favorite classic. I know some people like the 917s and 9083s, but there's just something about this car, the shape, it just always looked so nice, and it just looks like it's going 100 miles an hour sitting still. So had to have another one. Underneath, everything is the same, as you can tell from the one back here. Shark 21 motor, Sidewinder configuration. I'm glad there's no changes, you know, keeps everything even. That's the way I like my cars. So execution wise on the outside, I think they've done a fantastic job, and not much tuning that I'm going to do here at my track. As far as tuning goes, you could tune these for days. It all depends on your track, your rules, your club, your own personal preference. You can basically take this car and do a whole lot to it. So I don't with my track. It's pretty simple. I change tires. I go to a silicone tire, adjust the front axle, which we're going to talk about right now. As we mentioned before, when LEB, you get an NSR car from them, they got this nice little card here that explains what the set screws do for adjusting the front axle. I still think this is just a solid gold idea. Really appreciate it. So we're going to adjust the front axle, add some silicone tires, and give it a test run, because really, for me, it doesn't need any more than that. Like I said, you can keep tuning and tuning for your own track, but every track is different and every person is different. So there is no perfect setup that I can tell you that's going to work. The easy thing about this car is the fact that it doesn't really need a whole lot. You really could lubricate this car and throw it on the track, and it's probably going to run really good. Just a little bit of extra tuning on the front axle to adjust that, and maybe some tire changing. Of course, you can add weight if you want to. Like I said, it's all up to you. But again, well done, NSR. I really like this idea. The silver with the Martini colors. This thing just really pops. So let's get some tires on it, give it a quick lube, see how she goes. Alright, so just a quick word on tires. There's a lot of people that have their own ideas on what should go in the rear of these cars. Like I said, every track condition, personal preference, rules are all going to dictate that. So first of all, I'll tell you, there's a big fan base for the stock tires, and for good reason. They grip really well. Like I said, you could just sand these tires on your home track. If you're just starting out, they're going to provide pretty good grip. They're probably some of the best rubber tires, out of the box tires that you can get. So they work really good. Now, I like silicone, but if you want urethane, Paul Gage makes 2110.5 LM, and these are a perfect fit for these wheels. They work fine. I've used them before. They're a great tire. Paul Gage makes a very excellent urethane compound. But for these cars on my track, I have to go with Quick Slick CB35s. That's the closest size to OEM, and it just fits the wheel really good. So that's what I've used on our new car here. You can see them on there. Just a really good, clean fit. LEB has all these tires in stock, plus the aftermarket NSRs, the other compounds and stuff that, like I said, there's a big following for that. So you're just going to have to pick the tire that works for you. For me, I'm just going to go with the CB35s and give it a test. Okay, before we set up the front axle height, something you might want to do if you have a tire truer, and you've been doing it, is to sand and true the front tires. I always do that just to make sure these NSR tires up front can be a little bit finicky. So I always try to clean them up. There's just a little bit of tread design left here, but they're pretty smooth. But if you're just starting out, you don't have to do this. You know, if you're new to our hobby, you don't have one of these machines yet, just make sure these tires are fully seated on the wheel. Just inspect them, go around, make sure they're fully seated, no bulging, that they're mounted completely all the way around. I like to roll them like that with a little bit of pressure just to make sure, and now you can set up your front end. Okay, so I decided to show you a little bit about wire routing on these cars. You don't think it's a big deal. It can be if it's rubbing not in the right place, so to speak. So I use the little mounts, the slots that they have here in the chassis that are supposed to hold the wires, as you can see, and I make it to where it's pretty self-centering. It's not rubbing, it's not hitting anything. But one thing about these little slots they have in there is they don't hold very well. So I like to use the UV glue. You can use the pen back here. I use a different kind of bottle, but it doesn't matter. I like to put a little UV glue right here, and that keeps it in place because they'll just pop out. And the other thing is, with this car, the front end is really low. So after I do the wires, I'll just bend them down a little bit like that, and then the tops of the wires aren't rubbing the body. But it's pretty simple. But the main thing is that these little slots I have molded in here, they work great for helping you route the wires, but they just pop out really easy. So, just put a little glue there. Alright, so I installed the screws in the front axle here, the two on the top, and then you have your two that go on the bottom, and you're going to need a wrench for that, so you might as well get one if you're going to start tuning on these cars. LEB has the NSR wrenches among a few others, so I'll show you a little picture there, give you the part number. You want a 50 thousandths, 1.3 millimeter, that's what they make. So it's a handy wrench. You're going to need it to do these adjustments and for the wheels and etc. Now, as far as the ride height goes on the front axle, well, I have mine just barely touching the track. My best advice to you is, of all the different answers you're going to hear on all the forums, anywhere you go, is to just ignore all of it, because there is no perfect setup. It's for you. Your track surface, whether it's plastic, maybe it's uneven surface on wood, different elevations, braid height. It's just, you have to set the car up that works for you. That's part of tuning these cars. So you set the ride height where you feel you get the best performance on the track you're racing on. And that's the best advice I can give you. For my little track here, I just set it up like you see. It's not really supporting weight, but they're touching. And that's usually where I start, and then I'll adjust if I need to. Oh, look at that. And you say I don't ever push them hard, huh? Whoa. All right, well, like I said, you can't say that I'm not pushing it, but this car just gets it, and yeah, 3.224, that's getting after it out here on this track, and that's with no lead. I've done nothing else. Man, she's a go-getter. All right, well, I'll tell you, this car is, it never disappoints. The ones before it haven't, neither does this one. The whole question is, the price of these cars, $84.99, maybe some tires. Is it worth it? Well, who can answer that? Only you. To me, it's worth it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have so many of them. They got quality components. They just so easy to tune. And again, I've just done the very basic, the bare minimum. You're talking clubs that are, different tires, suspension, different guides. I mean, you name it. They're really milking these for all they're worth. And I'm just doing some simple tuning, and it runs that smooth out here. Just a very satisfying slot car. So only you can answer that question, but I'll tell you what, I think you should try it. If you haven't tried an NSR, I think it's time. Don't you? I mean, just get one, find out what it's all about. But anyway, thanks, LEB Hobbies. Appreciate the great service as always. I'm looking forward to more. I might pick up the red one. I might as well. I got a white and a silver. Might as well just finish it out, huh? But anyway, I hope you guys liked it. Hope to see you online. Always enjoy your feedback.